Prices plunged after the Fukushima nuclear disaster in March 2011 in Japan, then sank to a low of $18 a pound in late 2016. This as many developed countries second-guessed their use of nuclear power as well. However, in November last month, U308 hit highs not seen in more than years. The rebound has been attributed to increased optimism in the industry, as well as moves from one of the world's biggest uranium producers, Cameco, to help ease a supply glut. Marcelo López is managing partner and senior portfolio manager at L2 Capital Partners, and he joins us here in our Sydney studio. Marcelo, this is a commodity that was in a bear market for years, and now suddenly it's had a meteoric rise in 2018. Why do you feel this is just the beginning?
Sure. Well, one has to take into account where we came from. So until last year, the commodity was in a free fall. And last year, there was a big change in the market when Cameco announced that they would put McArthur River Mine into care and maintenance for 10 months, starting this January. So from January to October, they wouldn't produce a single pound of uranium. And just so you know the importance of McArthur River Mine, it's responsible for 13% of the entire world production of uranium. So it's the biggest mine in the world. And you would expect the price to go higher after that. It actually didn't respond too well. It went up a little bit, but not too much. Soon after, Kazatomprom, which is the biggest mine in the world, decided to cut down the production by 20%. In May this year, we saw Paladin putting their mine, Langer Heinrich, into care and maintenance. So it's another 5 million pounds of uranium that's not going to hit the market. And what really got the uranium going was the announcement from Cameco in late July this year, saying that they would put McArthur River Mine in care and maintenance indefinitely. They wouldn't restart it in October. And since then, price has pretty much went up every single week with a couple of exceptions.
So that's the supply side. You've got a number of mines that you've explained,
Sure,
going from a situation of oversupply to halting production. But what about the demand side? Where's that coming from, and is it likely to increase?
Sure. The world needs clean energy and cheap energy. And uranium provides just that. And we see the nuclear reactors produce around 20% of all the electricity in the US, over 70% in France. But the growth will definitely come from Asia. We see China with 45 reactors working and another 15 under production. India as well is investing heavily, Russia, South Korea. And Japan has restarted its nuclear reactors. So we have 9 restarts so far, and there are 17 waiting for approvals from the government to restart. So the demand is really picking up, and we are seeing something different. Because to oversimplify my answer here, until the beginning of this year, there were 2 buyers of uranium: the trading companies and the utility companies. Now, this year, 2 more things have happened. Once, the mining companies are starting to buy, i.e. Cameco. So Cameco realized that it's much cheaper for them to buy the uranium in the spot market and deliver to its clients than to actually mine it and deliver.
Okay.
So it was a big change.
Fundamental shift.
A fundamental shift. And the second one was the financial buyers. That funds like Yellow Cake that were listed in London, they raised 150 million pounds and used this money to buy 8.1 million pounds of uranium. So it's 8.1 million pounds. It's not going to hit the markets, at least not at these levels.
Oriel, come in here.
Marcelo, what are the biggest risks of making an investment into uranium right now?
That's an excellent question, and to my opinion, the biggest risk is another nuclear accident. So if we see a repeat of Fukushima, which I think is highly unlikely because nowadays the reactors are way more secure and way more protected than they were before, then we might see the uranium market taking a bit of the pain.
Okay, so the biggest risk is another accident like Fukushima, which